Hi, Emerson families and students. Welcome to our lesson for today. So we're going to go back to grammar and kind of review some of our first grammar symbol that we learned about, which is the noun. So remember we talked about the noun being a person, place, thing, or idea. But in this story, we talked about how the noun is like the king of the kingdom or the castle. And because he had such a powerful position, he was able to come up with the rules. He said, I want my kingdom or my empire to look like this, and this is how it's going to be. But then we remember that there was a prince, and this was the pronoun. Now, in this story, the prince said, you know what? You're important, but you have too many words. It's way too many words, and it's complicating, and I'm more simple. I feel like my way is the best way. So there was a constant battle between the two, one feeling like they're the most important than the other. And because this one was the king, he said, you know what? You're not going to take my position. I'm kicking you out. But then the king realized one day, you know what? Maybe he was right just a little bit. I do have a lot of words, and there are ways that I can find different words to substitute. So in this case, again, this is a noun and this is the pronoun. They're both pyramids, and they kind of have similar functions or similar jobs. They name something. But remember in the story, we talked about how they were both important, but the noun has to come first. So to give an example to help you remember the symbols, I have a sentence that I wrote down. This says, Mariah read Mariah's book in Mariah's room. Now, as I look at this sentence, I'm noticing that there's something that is, I don't know, it's just not quite right with the sentence. If I look at the sentence again as I study it, I realize that there are certain words that are repeating, and I don't have to repeat it this much. So in this sense, I know that the person that we're talking about is Mariah. Mariah is doing an action, and that is reading her book in her room. So to make the sentence make more sense, I'm going to erase these two because I already know we're talking about Mariah. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace it with the pronoun her. Mariah read her book in her room. Does that make more sense? That's what I thought. So again, I'm going to erase it. To make the sentence make more sense and to flow better. How many of you read in your room? What kind of books do you read in your room? Or do you read in the living room? Do you read outside? I know that I like to read outside. So as we talk about pronouns, there are different types of pronouns that we could also talk about. So if we can use the pronoun his, he, she. If I were to say the students are watching this video, and I said the students are watching the grammar video, I could say they. So if I'm talking about a group of people, instead of repeating it, I can say they. If I'm talking about an object or a thing, I could say it. Okay, so these are a few examples of pronouns, but just again to refresh your memory, it is something that replaces the noun. And if I were to say she read her book in her room, do I know who she is? I don't if I don't tell you who we're talking about first. So that is why the noun and pronoun both have important jobs, but the noun has to come first. If the noun does not come first, we won't know what or who we are talking about. I will have some sentences down below or some other videos that I can show you all with pronouns to help you get better acquainted with pronouns. Thank you so much for joining the lesson.